So welcome everybody. We have the wonderful Jason Estes with us for our Solstice Spirit Festival. It's a real
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. I love to discuss the inner masculine and the inner feminine coming together in unity. And I didn't know that about the 21st. So that's really cool to learn that there's an actual event where that's being mirrored. I love hearing that. But that energetic that happened already was last month, like May 18th, we hit this point where the masculine and the feminine energetically came together. And now it sounds like what we're having is an alignment that actually helps the physicality to mirror the spiritual aspects of ourselves. And that's awesome because the moment that men and women see each other as equal is the moment that world peace can begin. Until there is no division in this world, it's going to be very challenging to find peace. And if we look at what's going on in the world right now, we're seeing what's happening as people are coming into more peace. I mean, the word unity has been used more than it's ever been used, which I think is beautiful. That's a good positive thing that we're working towards that. You're seeing people that are going through extremes, but then you're seeing also the other extreme, which is that positivity and that kindness. And it's kind of like what we did with the whole pandemic. There was the unity movement, all these wonderful things happening. And then, and so what's happening is the masculine and the feminine are beginning to play with each other more and more and more and more until eventually it stabilizes. And that's really important because the masculine is working on vulnerability right now and feeling exposed and really just acknowledging that feeling of exposition. That's also helping us to understand what women are going through and what they've been going through. And so that helps us to look at it differently. And the feminine is going through this understanding of this primality and the sexuality and this creativity. They're beginning to realize that they're worthy of their own creations. And this is huge because when women realize that they're worthy of their own creations, that their voice matters, everything changes. And now when I say men and women, I'm referring to the bodies, but also that same value is within us as one body. So I am a male body currently. Like I have a male body. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just what I do. You have a female body. Nothing wrong with that. That's just what you've chosen, right? And so inside of this though is the masculine and the feminine coming together. And I really love to do this because like if you look at your hands, you'll notice that you have these two hands and then there's this little spot right here where these lines come in. And if you put your hand right there, you just rest it, it naturally creates this pressure in this thing. And what happens is it completes the circuits of your divine masculine and divine feminine. And in that state is where this energy starts to form in our hands. And this thing that's forming here, this invisible third thing, is actually us in our highest outcome, which is what our symbol is all about. That's what MTVO's symbol is the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming together to bring the child of unity into form. And when we do that, when we come together into our divine unity, that child, that innocence, everything is possible. But that child of unity isn't masculine and it isn't feminine. It is. That's it. And that's where we're headed. And I love when I learn about cool events that are happening because I don't know anything about these things. And it helps me to kind of go like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so the physical representation of this is happening. So what you're actually saying is the masculine and the feminine are coming together, which means on that day, the child of unity is being born. And you said that's July 21st. So that's actually the end of the body speed up phase. So this is an amazing moment because we're going to be sped up prior to that. And when we're sped up, we shake out and make lots of room. So we're going to have room to embody this new value within us. And you're doing a festival around it. That's amazing.
Can I ask for people that might not know, what do you mean by sped up?
So you are normally slower. Like this is how our bodies run. Now, the more work that you do on yourself, the more vibration that you run through you, maybe move faster. And if you do move too fast, you go into what is called out of phase. That means that your molecules are running so fast that you're out of phase. You usually don't gain weight. You pretty much run through things and you don't really eat much because you're just running light through you. So when you do go through a body speed up phase, what it is a forced speed up of your body to what most people are usually running that are in the higher octaves. So what that looks like is a lot of density clearing really fast. Also, it looks like drinking lots and lots of water and making sure to get your minerals and vitamins in your body so that you can have the resources you need to continue to run at that speed. because it is a resource heavy phase, as I call it, which is saying that your body is moving so fast that everything that it would usually run through in a week, it's doing in a day.
So to listeners listening today, which will actually be the 21st, this is what they've just been through. This is what people have just been through.
Yep. Yeah. So at this point, what they've learned is that their body is capable of more than what they thought it was. They've begun to understand more about who they are as that child of unity. And so today is the day that this amazing gift comes in with this alignment that allows them to go, oh, I have room for this now. And up until then, there is a lot of things going on in the world. Like from now, so then it's going to be pretty interesting in a whole new way. And this is an amazing celebration today. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We just froze a little bit then on our line. So
yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
No, but it happens every time I talk in an excited way. So that it's just
Please
it
try
makes
and
perfect
share it
sense.
again. We missed a good point.
Yeah. What I was saying was that congratulations, like we're there. We've made it through the hard part of June, and we're now at this point where we've made room for ourselves to come online in a new way. And that's what the 21st is. That's what the end of the body speed up phase is we've made room. And now here we have this beautiful alignment where we've made room and now we can actually come into that child of unity. So for those of you watching this, today is a very special day for you. Take this day and really celebrate what you've come through, how you've made it to where you are, and just go inward and cultivate that child of unity within you. Let go of the idea of masculine and feminine and instead come into that child of unity that simply is, because this is the beginning of something new.
It really is. We really are birthing a new earth. We really are. And it's so beautiful. You share it so beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a beautiful process. I mean, it can look dangerous, it can look scary, it can look painful, but it is the birthing of something brand new. And so there are going to be a lot of mistakes made along the way. When you don't know what you don't know, you get to learn it. And that's the process we're in. We're becoming childs of unity. We're becoming this innocence made manifest. We don't know how to do that yet. We knew it when we were little kids, but then as we got older, we kind of forgot. And now we get to go back to being little kids, but without being childish. We get to be childlike. And so we have that maturity.
There's a real purity in this, I feel. There's a pure energy flowing through. That's part of this whole rebirth, I guess, at this time.
Yeah. You've got to go
so
through
have you got
all
any
the things.
ideas how we can, as we rebirth, and there's a lot of change going on in the world, which can also throw up a whole lot of other fears and instabilities as we birth through these times. How can we sustain? What's your tips on sustaining these new downloads, this new energy going forward?
Embodying is the key. So whatever you're learning right now, and whatever you've been learning over this last few months, it's about applying it. It's not just about writing it in a journal and celebrating it and then moving on with your life. It's about taking what you learn and applying it so that you can create more room, so that you can apply it, so that you can create more room, so that you can apply it, so you can create more room, until eventually you have so much room that you can do anything you want to do in this life. But until you get to the space where you can handle your dreams and not get triggered and lost in them, it's harder to live your dream. And the world that's coming is a world where we're designed to live our dreams. But we have to make enough room to do that. And you're not going to be able to do that until you start to apply what you've learned to the situation, because then everything unlocks. And for those of you that are like, well, you know, I learned this tool like 5 years ago and it's really hard to remember it when I get triggered. That's normal. There's a thing that most people don't understand. Like your level of expansion is here, right? This is called your meditative state. And then all of a sudden you get triggered. Now you're here. This is called your home state. So when you're here, the tools that you learned here don't apply. You don't even remember them. You don't have access to them. So when you are in this triggered state and you do something that moves the game forward and you actually come back here, just go back into this triggered state from this new awareness and apply the tool in the past so that when you come into the future, you come naturally back to where you were. And then the next time you get triggered, you'll notice that you get triggered here instead of down here. But when we apply our tools in the past to the situations that were, we actually create spaces in our brain called neural pathways that allow us to remember the technology in the moment. So the next time you get triggered, that technology is closer to grab. So the number one thing that I tell people to do when you get triggered is pause. If you can create the separation between you and the trauma in that moment, which if you can't, it's okay. But if you can, then you will naturally expand a little bit more and you'll have access to more tools. And that's what room is. Room is how much can you handle when you're in that triggered state. Right now, the world is in triggered states. That is just insane. And they can't handle much. Most people are not handling things very well anymore. You've got the news, and the people on the news are even not handling things, which is pretty interesting to witness here in America anyway. And that being said, this process that we're in is about us learning what actual size is. So the very beginning of this year, I told people, be aware that this is the year that we all come into actual size. So anything that is not true will come up and be worked through and resolved. And now we're pushing into that very strongly. May is a very big transition month. So we're going to be understanding reality for what it is, and that's what's happening right now. And then in May, we're going to be applying what we learned about what true reality is into the world. Yeah, in May. So in a few weeks from this broadcast, we're going to be coming into
You
this
mean
new
July?
state. Huh?
Do you mean July?
No, I mean in May.
But next year?
No. Oh, yes. Sorry. You mean, I
Okay.
do mean July. I do mean July. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. Yeah. July is us beginning to apply. This is us observing and learning, seeing what we need to see. For anyone that's new to my way of teaching, I believe that when we accept things, we begin to understand them. So this month is really about acceptance, really acknowledging and accepting. And this is beautiful because it leads exactly up to what we're talking about. When you accept the masculine for what it is and you accept the feminine for what it is, then you begin to understand how they play together. And in that playing together, it creates the child of unity, which then gives you a new perspective to look at the world. Because when you look at the world from unified eyes, all you have is gratitude.
Yeah.
But when you look at the universe or the world through division, all you have is chaos, confusion. And that's what we're coming out of now. And once we get into this new perspective and we begin to apply what we have learned, you're going to watch this world radically change in ways you can't even imagine.
I love that. Acceptance is, it just feels very light. There's a lightness of being there that I can feel from what you're saying, something very clear and something very pure again, this purity, childlike.
Yeah.
And so simple somehow. I always think that we make things so complicated as a race. And it is just dropping back into much more simplicity, which is the most most powerful space to be, really.
Absolutely, yeah. The
And
more
that's why,
complexity,
following nature, for example, like the sun as the teacher, the moon, the feminine, like these symbols coming together, this way of living in harmony with nature to find that nature, so we can tap into this source that you share so beautifully.
Absolutely, yeah. Nature is incredible because it has something called living light that comes off of it. If you were to look at like a forest, you would see these things called biophotons that would be coming off the trees and everything. And if you could see, you would see it. These
Can you see?
biophotons, huh?
Can you see them?
Yeah, I see a lot of things these days. It's pretty amazing. The veil gets thinner every day, so more people are seeing it too. But these biophotons are these living light particles, and it is the greatest resource that we have. Seriously, if every resource in the world was part of biophotons, so you have like biophotons and then biophotons programmed equal minerals or equal other things that you would take, like water, all that other stuff, it comes from biophotons. Living light is transformed into anything. And this is important because our bodies are designed to take living light and transform it into what is needed for the body. It's the greatest resource we have. It was discovered in 1920, and almost no one knows what it is. 1920. That was 100 years ago. That blows my mind. That being said, biophotons are going to be coming into the world a lot more awareness around that. That's one of the major things I work with is biophotons. So when we begin to understand this moment, this biophotonic energy that's happening, everything changes. And when we begin to go outside and be in nature and actually begin to receive those biophotons, we heal. There's a huge movement called earthing now where you just take your shoes off and you go and stand on the earth. The fact that we had to call it a movement is how far we've gotten away from the way that we were born, the way that we used to be. You have to take your shoes off and go stand on the earth, and you're supposed to do it for 15 minutes a day. And that's a struggle for most people, to take their shoes off and go stand on the earth for 15 minutes. They had to call it a movement, earthing. I mean, I want to point that out to show you how far off of our natural path that we've gone. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We had to understand what we didn't understand. Now we have more value. Now we understand and we're more grateful for nature itself. And with this whole thing that's occurred, we've begun to look at nature differently. We've begun to realize that it's important to us. And this is why we're moving forward. It's because we're no longer in these ecosystems that are against nature, which currently, like houses and everything, are designed to kill biophotons. Without you knowing it, your current in your house and the way that your walls are designed, it actually creates a field that kills biophotons on contact. So it creates something called dead space, no living light in the space. And there's all kinds of ways to fix that now. And that's kind of proof. Like, we're learning how to coexist with nature and how to work with nature. There's all kinds of new architecture coming out that is designed to work with nature. You hear geoships, you hear all these other things, right? Like, we're in a time where we're changing over into working with Mother Earth and Father Sky. We're in a place where we're beginning to acknowledge what we are as the celestial beings that we are. As I'm saying this right now, today is the 4th, so we are deep in what is called the celestial integration window. And for those of you that are watching this, you've already gone through this. But the celestial integration window is showing us that we are not just human, that we're human angels, that we're so much more, and we're capable of so much more than we can imagine when we have the right resources. So now we are learning about the right resources. We are remembering more of who we are, and all of a sudden, the world becomes a more dream-fulfilling space because we have the resources to fulfill our dreams, because we have the health that we need in our bodies as we come back online. And these alignments, like what is happening today, is part of that physical push into us that assists us to let go of the thing it's pushing against. So if you're finding today that you're struggling, drink water and connect with your body outside. Go do some earthing and really enjoy it, because this is the moment that you've waited for. It might not look like you thought it would, but nothing ever looks like you think it will. That's the beauty of it. When you get into an experience, you get to learn new things in new ways, and you can't even fathom what is actually happening. You can only witness it, and that is it. But the moment that you believe that you know something, you're proven that you can't even imagine what is possible. And now we're getting to play in that level of imagination. We're getting to expand our imagination. We're getting to make room into our new level of innocence. So congratulations to all of you that are here today in this moment, and the acknowledgement that it is.
Yay!
Exactly. Yay, indeed.
It's amazing. It's such amazing times. I feel everything that you say in every cell of my body as truth. What I would really also like you to speak on today, actually, it's just come through, is your truth on 5G.
All right. So my truth on 5G is very different than everyone else's truth on 5G. I've taught about this openly multiple times, but I believe 5G is a resource. I do believe that it is a corrupted frequency, but like all corrupted frequencies, it can be repaired and repatterned and actually turned into a free resource. Is it designed to hurt humanity currently? Yes, that is a truth. It is. It is a frequency that is too high for our bodies to handle and can cause all kinds of things. What does that mean, though? That's an invitation for us to strengthen our bodies and to elevate our frequencies so that we aren't affected by it. It's a very strong invitation. It's saying, hey, this is coming. Are you ready? And if you aren't ready, how will you prepare? And I've taught on many videos how to do this, but because this might be a new audience, I'll go ahead and say it. Exposure therapy is one of the most powerful things that you can go through. And exposure therapy means that you go into the field for just a little bit, learn from it, and then come out of the field, and then get balanced and stable again, and then go back into the field. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go find a 5G tower. This means that you go into the current of 5G. You allow your body to go into it. You feel what happens, what comes up for you. You learn from it, and then you step out of that current and allow the energy to do what it needs to do, clarify, whatever. And it can take days to clean up that first dose that you take on. But your body builds up an immunity to it. And then once you're there, you can actually go into the current and begin to learn how to tweak it so that when the energy runs through you, your body knows exactly what to do with it. And the only reason that we ever get sick is we are given something that we don't know what to do with. That's what sickness is. That's why after a few days, you're usually okay again. And in fact, you actually feel better than you've ever felt usually after you're sick for a little bit. And the reason that you feel better is because you've reached a new level. Now, I'm not saying you have to get sick to reach that new level, but that's usually what happens. The sickness forces you to pause and you begin to process things in a different way. Instead of your energy going outside to the world, your energy completely comes into you and you begin to solve things that have been there for years. And you might have thought that you were just sick because you got a little tiny bit of virus from something. That's not why you get sick. You get sick because your immune system is weakened. Your immune system is weakened because you don't have enough bandwidth to process the reality that you're being handed. And so what happens is your immune system goes weaker and weaker and weaker until eventually you get to a point where your immune system can't process what needs to be. And so you get sick, which forces you to pause, and then your immune system gets stronger. In that process, it's also learning, though. It's evolving, it's expanding. 5G gives you that opportunity. Now, is 5G going to happen? I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest with you, because if it does happen, it means that I can handle it. If it doesn't happen, it means that I wasn't supposed to handle it. And no matter what actually occurs, it can only happen if it's meant to be for us in that moment, if we can actually evolve past it. There are too many forces in this world currently making sure that things will only happen that are necessary to this process. And that's why a lot of people are like, well, I don't understand how that can be true. Look at all these things that are happening all over the world. Well, those things that are happening all over the world were designed to happen. They were needed to happen between those people. We don't understand because we're not those people. But contracts are contracts and they have to be resolved. We came to Earth to assist the game to progress forward. And in order to do that, we have to finish the contracts that are here. Now, it doesn't mean we have to physically finish them anymore. In fact, we've reached a level of alchemy as a race that now we can just look at something and as is it, and then it no longer needs to be. But if we're afraid of it, if it causes and incites fear within us, then it needs to be until it doesn't. Because as long as it's something that triggers us, it's triggering something inside of us to come out of us so that we can look at it and say, hey, you know what? I don't need that anymore, and then let it go. So being triggered is not a bad thing. Being triggered is actually a great thing because it's showing you where you need to work. And 5G is triggering people on levels I've never seen before. So is the President of the United States. It's really cool to watch all these things that are happening that are triggering people in major ways because this is important. We need to look at these things. If we're going to move forward through the eye of the needle, as I call it, we can't have that bullshit. We have to actually be authentic and real and actually the size that we are. Otherwise, we won't pass through the eye of the needle. And that eye of the needle, that's November 8th. So we have a few more months to really work through these things instead of blaming and shaming these things, resolving them. You are more powerful than you can imagine. You were designed in the image of God. So you know what that means? That means you're capable of things far greater than what other people can design and build. but you don't remember. And that's changing. That's why this is such an important time. If you knew how powerful you were, you wouldn't worry about an energy current. You could create something so much far greater than anything that else could be created. You can process anything in this world. You can understand things that you don't even know, but you're acting at low percentages right now. And it's not your fault. It's just part of this process. But remember, you're capable of so much more. And if your field is strong, there's nothing in this world that can affect you. So strengthen your field. But you don't do that by escaping. You do that by looking and accepting. When we accept things, we are able to understand them. And in understanding, everything begins to make sense. And if you can make sense of anything, you make sense of everything. And that is huge.
Wonderful. And would you say also that in this union of the masculine and feminine, if we were to come into great balance within ourselves with these energies, these triggers would also fall away. You know, it's always
Right.
coming back to these same things.
Yeah. As long as polarity exists, there will be triggers.
Yeah.
But in true innocence, like the absolute value of innocence, there is nothing to be triggered. So
No.
all we're doing is claiming our innocence back with each experience, or giving our innocence away. It's really up to the person, obviously.
Well, I absolutely, my body just feels the energy of your words, Jason. I want to thank you so much for joining us here at the Solstice Spirit Festival. Is there any last words that you'd like to share with us at this time?
Remember that celebration brings stability. If you can remember that, then you can remember stability. And if you remember stability, then you have something to build on. And as long as you build on stability, you will create something that lasts. And in that state of that lasting state, you change the world. And it doesn't even matter what it is that you're building on stability for, because we're all working together to get home. So you might think you're only doing this little tiny thing, but that little tiny thing fits perfectly in this giant thing that actually makes this giant thing work. So there's no job too small or not important anymore. Learn to build in stability. I give this example to a lot of my first year students. If you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper there has ever been, and you won't be a street sweeper much longer. It's because when you master a game, the universe gives you more to master. So an example would be like if you were a street sweeper and you were doing the greatest job you could ever do, someone saw that and was like, wow, you're putting a lot of energy towards that. I think that I could teach you this new skill. Do you want to do it? And you get a card, and then all of a sudden now you're working for this other person. And this person's like, wow, you're doing so good. You know what? Do you want to be a partner with me on this project? And then and all this stuff keeps happening until eventually now you have what you need to build what you've always wanted. And it's about doing the best you can with what's in front of you, not about wishing for more. When you complete what's in front of you, you'll find you already have more. You don't even need to wish for it or want for it. It's already there. So my best advice is no matter what it is that you're doing, do it the best you can, because then you will have more every single time.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. When I said yes to doing this festival, which I've never done something like this before, I had no idea what I was going to be doing.
Yep.
And it was like, how do I begin this? I don't have a clue. It was like, I don't know the next step. At the beginning, I was terrified. And then it was like, right, it's a day at a time. I'm just going to take the next step. And then all of it was just coming, all the information that I needed along the way. And suddenly I've created a really wonderful event out of nothing and out of having no experience. And I feel that that's what you're talking at. It's like taking those next steps and the miracles happen. Whatever you need is there, like trust it.
Yeah. And just so everyone that doesn't know me, I have this belief, this very strong belief that the highest version of me is outside of time, witnessing this entire game and always handling me the perfect item in that moment. So when I hear that God will never give you more than you can handle, I look at it like that, like, well, yeah, obviously, why would I give myself more than I can handle? It doesn't make any sense, right? So the highest version of me outside of time and space is handing me things to do. It knows exactly what I need. It can see everything. Why would I think that I'm greater than it? It doesn't make any sense. So if something's in front of me, I can handle it. And if I choose to handle it with all that I am, then I get closer to being that being outside of time and space. And so I get more to handle. And that more that I get to handle is always taking me towards the highest fulfillment possible until eventually I arrive. And when I arrive, I begin to understand the path that I took. And anyone who's ever arrived, who's actually completed a major level of your game, you can look back at your entire life and everything seamlessly fits to the point where you're just like, there wasn't even, how was it, even the things I thought were mistakes weren't, how is that even possible? It's impossible to look back at your entire life that you've lived when you've reached that level and not see it perfect. And that's the beauty of what happens when you complete that level. And then you begin to acknowledge that everything in front of you is always going to be that way. And you just keep doing it. So you had the call to design this festival, to build it. And the universe had your back. It designed everything that you needed, put it in front of you, helped you remember the skills or found people that had the skills to make it reality. That's the beauty of what we can do when we just show up. At the beginning, they didn't hear this, but at the beginning, we were talking about what we were going to talk about. And I said, we're just going to show up. Because you just show up, that's what's needed of you. That's what's important. You don't know what you're going to say. You just show up. Answer the questions as they come through, do your best, and you handle what's in front of you. And then you move forward. If we bring ourselves fully present into a single moment, we see the game in its entirety in that moment. And the entire game updates because of it. And that game is part of everyone in this world. So all we have to do is reach complete presence in a single moment to progress this game forward. And each time that we dare to do that, we get closer. And that's the beauty of what we are and what we're capable of. And every day that you begin to do that, you're going to notice it. Many people that I know who have started at video one of my video series and watched them have come back to me and said, you know, I just showed up and you were right. My life is better now. I have this whole thing happening. This company opened up, this thing here. I got a better job. All this because all they did was apply the teachings, which the teachings are very easy. Just show up.
Yes.
I say, be good, do good, have faith, and enjoy the ride. That's it. Those are all it takes. Am I good? Okay, if I'm good, then that's awesome. Now, am I being good? Am I actually using my goodness to help the world? If I'm not, that's cool. That's the step I'm on. That doesn't mean I'm in faith yet. But if I am good and I'm doing good, then now it's to have faith, because I know for a fact something will come that will show me how to be better. So I'll be even more good, and I'll have access to even doing more good in the world. And in that process, while I'm having faith, I'm enjoying the ride. So everything becomes fun. Everything. Doesn't matter. It can be the worst experiences ever, and it's still fun.
Yes. Yeah, I've had such big triggers this week, like in my personal life, but I've been in such a good mood.
Yeah.
Like I've been having so much fun as well at the same time. And so these triggers they're just not affecting me anymore. I'm not having these emotional dramas around them. That's what I feel is around at the moment. That's the energy.
Yeah, you're realizing the difference between emotion and feeling. And that's the key to everything. If you can master that, everything changes. Emotion will always move you. Feeling will guide you. Guidance doesn't mean that it moves you, which means you actually still have choice. When you're emotional, you don't have choice. When you're in feeling, you do. Feeling is looking at your emotions as you. Emotions are not you. So if anger is present, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can acknowledge it. But you're saying it's present. You're not saying you are it. So many people go, I am angry. And it's like, no, you're not. Your ascended quality cannot be angry. Your body, the energetics around it might have anger inside of it, but you are not angry. Anger is present around you, and you're witnessing the world through that anger, and you're actually believing yourself to be angry. But the spirit is not capable of that. Only the experience and the mistranslations can cause that. So when we begin to realize that, that's what you're saying. You aren't getting emotional anymore. You're feeling things instead. And there's nothing wrong with feeling. You're always going to feel things. That's great. That's actually how you navigate the world. Get good with your feelings and everything changes. Acknowledge and honor your feelings and everything changes. Because then you're real. You're authentic. When you repress emotions instead of witness them, you create a lack of authenticity, often leading to resentment and rage, and eventually barriers and shields and all kinds of other things because you don't want anyone to push that wound. But if you allow yourself to feel what is coming up for you, truly feel it, then that's a beautiful moment, because you're taking that wound out of you and you're observing it and you're dissolving it. And now you don't care how many times people push on that space, because there's no wound there anymore. And that's the beauty of feelings versus emotions.
It feels like there's more space for that now in these times, energetically. Like it's easier for that to happen, and that the heart energy is so strong, and that's what it feels.
Yeah.
In these amazing times. And as much as there's chaos and triggers all around the world, there's also a deepening in unity, as you said, in unity and coming together and coming to balance. And these events are of great service to the world. It's a great message. It's like we just want to keep these messages coming out, that we're together, we're collaborating, we help bring each other home. And that's what this is all about.
We have a choice.
We have a choice.
Choose. That's the beauty of where we are now. In the past, humanity didn't have a choice. It wasn't ready to have a choice. It had a game that was designed for it, and it had to complete the game. November 8th, we complete that game. You're being prepared for a world where you have a choice. And that's the beauty. Like when I say that, it almost makes me want to, like, I feel like I want to cry, because it's so beautiful to know that we have earned the right in this lifetime to have a choice again, to have a voice again. Like it matters again, what we want in our lives, what we feel, it matters. And that's new. And we don't know what that's like yet. And sometimes it's really hard, because it's like, you mean I can feel? I don't know. Or my favorite is like when somebody comes up to you and goes, so what do you want? And they're like, what? No. What do you need me to want? And you're like, no, that's not the question. What do you want? And they're like, well, what do you need me to do? That like, what is it that I like? And it's no. Ask yourself. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what do you want? And they're like, I've never asked myself that question. I'm like, you're like 40 years old and you've never asked yourself what you want. You see, that's the beauty of where we're headed. It's not about what we need to want anymore. It's not about what other people want us to want. It's about, what do you want? And now, what are you willing to do to achieve that want? Because it's not just going to be handed to you. There's this belief in this new world that everything is just going to be handed to you. You wouldn't want it to. You wouldn't want people to just hand you. You don't have any value there. You're going to get to work towards what you want, but you're going to not have all these things trying to stop you. It's going to be like, I want this, I'm willing to do the work, and all of a sudden you have that. That's what brings. This world that we live in was designed to keep you from getting what you wanted. It was like the carrot and the stick. It was just never going to, it just kept running, and they just got further. But on November 8th, that carrot hits a door, and all of a sudden you touch the carrot and you're like, wait, what? You mean I can touch the carrot? Oh, I have a carrot now, finally. And then the door opens and the carrot disappears, and you go, and you literally are going to be speechless, because you won't understand how to function in this new world. But you'll notice that others will take a step forward, and the whole world will move on. And they will expand out, and you will see examples of amazing things you can't even imagine. Technology that is far beyond this world. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful beings from all over the cosmos have incarnated on this planet and have been working behind the scenes to create a world of your dreams. And all they're asking you to do now, and this is the beauty, right? They're asking you to choose to be a dreamer with them. It's not even about them. It's about you choosing to dream too. So all I can say is enjoy the ride, because it is going to be an amazing one.
You've mentioned November the 8th a couple of times now. Just interested on that, just to hear a little bit around what you mean by that special date.
It's kind of complicated, because as far as I understand, humanity has never completed a sector. Like we were about to, and then Atlantis happened. So that's kind of complicated. But a sector of consciousness is kind of like, if you have oranges, right? Or actually, I'll just use this QR because it's a circle. So imagine that you have this reality that you're in, and then you have this line, which I call the door, right? But then you have another reality that's right above it. This is how dimensions are when you understand time and space. So you've got this, and
Mm.
energy is running in circles, but it's actually a broken loop, which is why people understand time as a line versus a circle. And that's because when you go down in density, you forget the principles of the universe, like how it was designed, why it was built, all that. So this first ring is the third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension. So what happens is this line that comes through is the door to the sector. And once we cross through this door to the sector, this sector dissolves. It doesn't exist anymore. And this becomes the game that the universe is working on. And the reason this is designed is because it's like a physical container. So you have to understand that outside of time and space, it's infinite. But inside of time and space, to progress the game and to understand what physicality is and what it can offer, groups of beings have always come to play in physicality, and slowly has it designed an infrastructure inside of it to explore it at its various depths. The way I like to look at it is like if you understood God, let's say this is God, right? The aura of God would be everything that has ever existed. And you, the spiritual being, are in the process of going through that. And so this field, the moment that you step into it, you're frozen at first trying to understand it. And then you decide to jump into certain bubbles inside of that field, which is entire lifetimes. Could be hundreds of lifetimes in one bubble. And then you expand out through that bubble, and then all of a sudden, now you're forward in time and space, and you're just jumping through time and space over and over again as you complete all these things. That bubble is a sector. Everyone jumps into that sector together to help that sector to be dissolved so that the understanding of God can be. Because humanity either has the power of God or the understanding of God, but never both. And that's what sectors were designed for, was so that eventually the power of God and the understanding of God could both be aligned together, and the world would be set free to be what it was. In order to understand all that, you have to understand E1 and how it was designed by the multiverse specifically to be a planet for gods to be evolved into physicality. The journey of Godhood, basically. It's a really complex story, but we are now moving forward into the next bubble of that. And the next bubble of that doesn't require our minds to be removed, doesn't require our memory to be erased. And so everything begins to change. There's this really interesting thing. Just for anyone that doesn't know this, we just changed timelines very recently, but there are really interesting things that happen when you change timelines. People call them the Mandela effect, or the Mandela effect, or whatever it's called. But basically, if you go look up what am I saying? Yes. King Tut's head, or his headdress, or his tomb, you'll notice that there is now a new thing on it.
Who? Sorry, who?
King Tut.
Okay.
Yeah. So King Tut's headdress is different. It used to just be a serpent, which, if you understand what the serpent symbolizes, it's the underworld. Now it has the raven next to it. And there's still pictures that people have because it's a major thing that's been photographed that didn't get changed over in the timeline. So people are looking at them going, no, that's not possible. How is that possible? Because it's impossible, but yet it happened. So the thing about the raven, though, is that it symbolizes the higher planes, the higher games. So the fact that the mastery of the lower games is complete, and now we've begun this journey of the mastery of the higher games, is what is beautiful. True reality is upon us. And it's so much so that there's a blatantly obvious proof of it now. And I think that that's amazing that we're at a point now where we can have these experiences that say, hey, you've jumped timelines and here's proof.
Wow.
We've heard stories like the Bernstein Bears and the Barnstein Bears and all the other stuff, right? But this is a physical one that there are already pictures of this and there are already pictures of this that still exist because they wanted us to know this time. Instead of just updating and changing reality, they changed it in a way that left things so that you could go, wait, that's physically impossible for this to happen, and yet it did, which breaks things in your brain so that you can remember what you're really capable of. We did that. As humanity, we earned the right to play the higher games. That is beautiful. That is worthy of celebration.
Absolutely. Gosh. Where can we go to see King Tut? Is that just
Just Google it.
online? Just Google him. Okay.
Yeah, just Google King Tut and King Tut's head or whatever, and you'll see it. It's very obvious, and they even put it on there to make it super obvious because it looks like it doesn't belong. Because your mind says, "Wait, this isn't true." When you remember King Tut's head, you remember just the serpent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does because that's how it was. I tell people we're all walk-ins in this new reality, and everybody's like, "No, no, I'm this." Blah, blah, blah. No, we're all walk-ins. This reality, none of us are from. We all walked into it because we earned the right to. No matter whether you're in the world and you think that you're doing wrong or whatever, it doesn't matter. You're here, you arrived. You can change. You have a choice now. Choose wisely.
So would you say we're moving up into the sixth dimension? Is that what you're saying around the...
We're moving on to the plate of the fifth dimension. The
Okay.
sixth dimension is going to be really complicated. It starts in February, but it's not starting for everyone. It's called a master line. And last time I checked, it was like 1,000 data points a second, which is like 1,000 days in a second of time that you would have to process in order to stay stable on it. Yeah, I can't even do it. I'm gonna get my butt handed to me so many times, but I'm gonna try. Like I'll jump onto the master and just and then come down and spend like a week unconscious. But I'll eventually figure out how to handle that much information. It's just I don't know how to do that yet. But once you can walk in that space, then everything changes. And then it begins to build platforms and new ways for other people to work, right? Because this is brand new. This has never been done by a physical race. Non-physicals, etherics, yes, they played in sixth dimension and higher dimensions, but a physical race, no, because it's not possible yet. And that's what's so beautiful about this time. And again, this is important for anyone that's like, well, yeah, it is possible. Infinitely, yes, it is possible. It's totally possible, infinitely. I'm talking about the time-stamped reality that we're in, the little tiny bubble in that field that I referred to, right? In that bubble, it's never happened. So there are no pathways pioneered. There is no infrastructure laid. It is a completely new game. And we are going to fall on our faces hundreds of times, if not thousands, before we even figure out how to stand up. Just like a baby when they first learn to walk. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be messy. There's going to be a lot of really interesting conversations. But it's going to be something that we all planned for and prepared for.
It just feels like the whole of life is this, isn't it?
Yeah.
different experiences, but sort of the same in some way, but just more experience, more evolving, more growing, more deepening.
Yeah.
It's
Many
going to
people say
continue.
that. Go ahead.
It's going to just keep continuing and continuing.
But it gets better every time.
Getting better every time, exactly.
That's the key. Yeah, if it didn't get better every time, then it would be a failed experiment. It would have been reset. We would have had another experience.
Be
But
awful.
we succeeded.
Yeah.
We earned the right to choose. We have a voice. We have power again. Just sit with that for a little bit. Like really understand what has happened over these last few thousand years that has given humanity an opportunity to be its own savior. Just sit with that. Because that's magic. That's amazing. And that was what we earned. That's not just something that was given to us. It's not something that we can lose because we earned it. It's ours. That power of who we are, it's ours. We get to choose. There's no greater value in life than choice. And for the longest time, it's been kind of chosen for us. So now it's not going to have to be chosen for us anymore. And we're ending that age. We're ending it. November 8th, it's the end. We're done. The age where we don't get a choice, where we don't have a say, where our voice doesn't matter. It's over. So really understand what you're working towards. And then the things that you're seeing that are distracting you right now, they don't matter anymore. Because you go, oh, I get this. This is the end of that age. This is the stuff that has to happen so that we can be ready. because the old stage has to be cleaned off before the next play can begin. And that's all we're doing. We're just taking a few things that were left over from the old set, just saying, okay, cool, let's look at that. Yeah, we don't need it in the new set. Okay, let's look at that. Oh, no, we don't need that in the new set. And the stage is getting cleaned off, ready for its next play. And the next play is incredible because it's designed by us, for us, with us. We do it together. It's not about one group doing it for us. It's about all of us contributing and building the greatest play in the history of humanity.
Yes. We all have the power to be our own savior together.
Yeah.
That feels good. It feels amazing.
Yeah. That's why
Thank
I'm
you.
always happy.
Thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast, like I knew it would. And I'm grateful that you answered the call and knew that you had what you needed. Because this is going to be beautiful and amazing and help so many people. And that's what matters. At the end of the day, just helping people. Because as we help people, we learn who we are. And as we learn who we are, we help more people. So, I mean, it's, yeah.
Yes. Thank you so, so, so much. I really appreciate your work and your message and all you give, all you share with everybody. Very powerful, very beautiful being. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so, so much.
Have a blessed and beautiful one. Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.